Welcome, everyone, to Mr. and Mrs. Opinion Show. I'm Mr. Opinion, and I'm here with my co host,
Mrs. Opinion.
the great one. Don't forget that. Today, we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind for a long time, and I know that you know what it is because I bug you like at least twice a week about it.
Yes, the school system.
Yeah, this education system here in the United States. So today's talk will be about that, and we're going to give you our opinion.
And remember, it's our opinion, but you guys can comment down below. So don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and follow.
That's right. So go ahead and talk about a little bit about homeschooling because I know you're pushing towards that big.
Well, I know a lot of people have questions about that it's too hard, that they don't have time, but there's a lot of women that stay home. They kind of almost give up their careers to be home with their kids. So why not just do homeschooling? It's very easy. It's all on the internet of how to set it up. You just got to go step by step by step, and you're not alone. There's a community of other parents that are homeschooling, and you can do it at your leisure. You don't have to do an 8 to 3 or 8 to 5. You can do, you can do it early morning. You can do it late in the afternoon. They've got it all set. You just have to have a curriculum.
Boy, that sounds so good. I'm so happy that you brought that up. Exactly. From just think about this, you parents out there, because I know a lot of you are going to say, "Well, how can I do that? What's going on? I'm so busy." Everybody has time. Trust me, we're both busy. You make time. Make time for your kids' education. It's going to pay off big time instead of the one they're in now.
I mean, if you go back to like when we were in school, majority of us, we walked to school. We didn't live close to the school, so it was like 3 or 4 blocks away. Now we always take our kids to school, and the lines around the schools to get parking, to pick up, it's horrendous. And for anybody who doesn't have kids right now, going to work or going to the store or going across town, you have to pass all the kids and all the cars that are there. It's dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous for the kids and for the drivers. With what we're talking about, it's just scrapping this whole system that's we have right now that's been around for over 100 years, and you wouldn't have to drive or no school buses around. Another stressful job out there for you school buses drivers. I know it's dangerous.
Yeah, the other day I think they were showing on the news this poor woman who, I think she drives a bus, but everybody stops, the kid has to go across the street, and then there's idiots just driving. They don't care. They just don't care. So
Yeah, that's the
it's a
thing.
safety hazard for everyone's kids once they get off that bus.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, I was going to say, there's going to have a lot of people that are going to disagree with this. That's fine. Put it down in the comments. Disagree or agree. We welcome both. And it's this whole thing about, I know what they're going to say, probably. They're going to say, well, especially if there's, the teachers out there, they're going to say, well, what about my job? You're going to get rid of my job? Well, if you are listening to the news, a lot of teachers are getting laid off, and a lot of them are just quitting from stress.
There's a lot of stress in school. And AI is coming anyway. So might as well look for something different, or maybe something in administration. I don't know. I don't really know how that's going to work with AI, but I'm sure they're going to have some teachers or administration, but AI is taking over completely. I mean, kids don't even have to write their essays anymore. It's all done. They just push a button or they just tell it what they want to say, and it's all done.
And just imagine, it's barely getting started.
Yeah.
Barely off the ground.
And it's sad because a lot of kids, they don't know how to do cursive.
Yeah, they don't even teach that anymore.
So if we older adults are writing in cursive, kids just don't even know how to read it. They don't even when you ask them to sign, they print their name. They don't know, or they scribble because they don't know how to.
And the same
sign.
thing goes for a clock or a watch. If it's not digital,
oh yeah,
they
can't
stare at
read
it like, huh?
They can't read it. Well, a lot of kids can't even give back money.
Well, if it wasn't for the barcodes and scanning,
yeah,
you imagine the lines at the store for the register.
Yeah. There's very few that I've seen count back money, and I'm talking few.
Right.
So yeah, all this needs to stop. Our school system here in the United States, our kids are below what they should be. You go to Europe, the Asian countries, and their kids are thriving. They come over here, they already know English because they're taught English over there. Here, all we know is English because back in the day they wouldn't let anybody speak their native language, so they chose not to speak it, and now we need all kinds of interpreters.
It's true,
and there's money behind that. We need interpreters because we have so many different cultures here in the United States. So if they would just teach better or let them speak their native language, then everybody would learn. I know we're a melting pot. There's a lot of us, but still, if other countries can teach English, why can't we teach other languages that we really, really need?
And I'm sure there's some schools that do that, but probably very few percentage.
I mean, I took Spanish. Did you take any?
I took Spanish, and then in college I took Spanish. But are you really learning it? That's mostly just like quizzes and tests.
Yeah, I mean, I got an A. I took Spanish 1, 2, and 3. I think 4 is the one where they ask you to go to a Spanish-speaking country.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't. That's the only one I didn't do, but I did 1, 2, and 3. I got an A. Still don't know how to communicate with a Spanish-speaking patient person.
It's because of the system we have. And some of you are going to say, well, why are you bringing up about barcodes not giving back the right amount of money and everything? Well, it's because that's part of the whole system that we have right now. I mean, okay, so you're not going to learn cursive? Okay. But at least put more into spelling, because we have spell check. I get that, but spelling, reading, and don't repeat everything. Remember, I talk about that a lot. Like if they take basic math, now they want students to take algebra, but yet all of a sudden in high school, you got to take algebra again. And then in college, you got to take something again.
Yeah. Well, they make them take these tests in school to, a kid will go from one school to a different school because there's a lot of moving around. And when they do that, they take those standardized tests to see what level they're at. And a lot of kids aren't good at tests. I'm not good at tests. So even if I was doing, say I was in 3rd grade, but I was doing like 5th grade, once the test came around for a new school, it was like, whoa, I couldn't do it. And so then they pull me back to like 3rd grade again. And then I just kind of build up again. So there's a lot of these tests that they're giving out to kids, and they just can't remember, or they're stressed out about the test.
Stress, big thing.
Yeah. Anybody says test, it doesn't even have to be like a written test, just test, and I get stressed out. So there are a lot of people like that.
Yeah, and I don't understand. That's another thing that is part of our rebuild opinion for the education system is you go into a classroom and they're all pretty much the same. Okay, today, students, don't forget, you have to study chapter 1 and 2. We're going to have a quiz on it. We're going to have a test on it. Okay, get rid of all those quizzes and tests. I mean, like you just said, these poor kids are stressing out. There's way different ways to teach, and what's being taught right now is not working.
Well,
That's my opinion.
I just don't understand why the kids have to have all these different classes, and they have to be in school for that long a period of time. When they do homeschooling, they don't have to put in that amount of time. They've got, their basic math, their English, whatever it is that they pick for their curriculum. But they do other things. They go out. There's field trips, and they get together with the other community, and they go to museums, or they go to parks, or they go fire station, anywhere. They just go and they learn. They actually learn, and they absorb all this information.
Just imagine experiencing life instead of being stuck in a classroom.
And in the classroom, they don't teach any of the kids the basics of life. Like, you need to go to the bank. You need to put money in the bank. How are you going to put money in the bank? You got to get a job. How do you fill out an application? And nowadays, everything's online. There's so much stuff online. And half the time, you don't even know if it's real. Is it really going somewhere? Are people calling you for interviews? There's no jobs for these kids, especially the ones that paid so much money. Once you get done with high school, you're off to college. Everybody, we got to go to college. The amount of money that we're paying for college is insane. So these kids don't even get a good career out of going to college.
You said it right. If you go to any college campus, most freshmen, they have no idea.
No. And when you're starting off as a freshman, I mean, there are some people who are very like, I am going to be a doctor.
Small.
But for the most part, nobody really knows what they want to do. And even if they have a mindset, oh, maybe I'll do this. But as they continue to go, they veer off because they have friends that do this, or they take a class that they're interested in. So then they just go somewhere else. And then where do they go from there?
Yeah, it's very, very confusing. The whole college process is a terrible thing, and it's a ripoff and a scam. I mean, like you said, there are some kids that know exactly what they want. But even then, when you're 18, in my opinion, you should already have your bachelor's straight out of high school. And what we're going to talk about is how that would work. A kid, once they graduate the so-called high school, they'd have a bachelor's already and get to work. Some kids don't want to go from school all these years and go again to school, college.
Well, I think that it needs to be restructured in a way where they teach the kids some type of skill, so that if they decide not to go to college, that they can still do a skill, versus learning all these different classes that they're not going to even use.
Yes.
And that's the same thing with college. You go to college and, you have to wait, especially freshmen. They only give you so many seats, and then you have to wait. Once you figure out what you're going to do, what your major is going to be, and of course you want to take those courses, but you can't because there's so many students that want that course. So then you're either going to sit in on a class, or you just got to wait until your number gets a little bit higher, and then you can take it. But in the meantime, because you got to keep so many credits to be full time, right. And a lot of kids are, using financial aid, so they have to have that many units. So they're using all these like filler courses, junk
for no reason. for no
a
reason.
lot of junk education. I'm not saying that it's not any good, but majority of the time you're just not going to use it.
But yet they're still getting charged
And they are getting
for
charged.
wasted classes and wasted degrees, because there's a lot of wasted degrees
Yeah,
out
and
there.
then it takes them a lot longer. Instead of it being supposed to be 4 years, right? It takes them just a little bit longer. So then they're going into like 4.5 or 5 years. And they want to get out, they want to work, they want to start
Yeah.
their real job. A lot of these poor kids are doing work part-time, and they really just want to do what they want to do so they can like make real money and start really living, having their own place, their own car, just their own life.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I got a few things here that I was researching for us. And since you brought up some other countries, there is a thing here that I read. And it's countries moving away from letter grading. Remember what I was talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Finland, New Zealand, Scotland, Netherlands.
So what do they do? So if they don't give a student a grade, what do they do?
It says that several countries are actively replacing traditional A through F letter grades, and instead they're adopting a system that for growth, skills, and real world application, just like you talked about.
Yeah.
Real world over single scores.
So, but their college system is different than ours.
Yeah, that's paid for.
Yeah, that's paid for.
Exactly.
We pay for it. So it's like a competition. All of our kids are competing for a seat at a college.
Right. And that's why would you go to school all these years and fill out some application to be accepted into some school? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it should be like in Europe. That's why their students who come here are so much more educated, so much more well-rounded. It's just an overall better system than what we have right now.
I'm going to read you a little thing here from Finland, because Finland has, if not the best, one of the best education systems in the world. It says, Finland has long moved away from high-stakes exams and letter grades, focusing instead on teacher-led assessment, professional judgment. Grades are low stakes, and what they want is the teachers want feedback on what they're teaching instead.
Because then it's actually showing that the teachers are teaching, because the teachers, not that all teachers are bad, but I think once these teachers get complicit because they've got tenure, that they don't really care.
Right.
And a lot of times they teach the same thing every single year. All they care about is that their numbers look good and that the kid passes, not that they've learned anything. And I'm not like I said, I'm not saying all teachers are like this, but there is a big group of them out there. And we know it because we've taken courses, and that's how they are.
Yeah, the whole tenure thing, scrap it, get rid of it. That's another part of the rebuild system. No more tenure, because these teachers are so-called professors or whoever they are just cashing a check. They don't care. That's all they want.
And there are some really, really good teachers out there that would probably adopt doing some of these teachings from like other countries. And I think they would flourish, and you would see like a difference in the kids.
Yeah, you know how at the beginning we're talking about how homeschool, online learning, and everything. I read for the research for this that the average kid only spends about 2 to 3 hours a day on it, and they complete way more stuff than the 8-hour block.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people talk about, well, it's not good for the kids because they're not very well adjusted to society because they don't have the interaction of all the other kids. But my gosh, Look at how many kids are bullied.
More than ever.
Yeah, they're
More than ever.
bullied, and some of them have committed suicide because of the bulliness. And it's not even in person sometimes, it's online that they
Mostly.
get it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's even more dangerous because people hide behind a
Yeah.
screen. They type what they want,
That's right.
and they don't realize how much it hurts that poor person. Even growing up, they still hold on to it. So that to me is worse in society because they don't know how to overcome that fear of someone doing that as an adult. Because we're all a victim of like what happens to us as we're kids.
Sure.
When we
Sure.
grow up. That's what makes us. So yeah.
I mean, social media, like you're saying, now there's more bullying than, I mean, it's a fact, more bullying than ever. And like you said, they're hiding behind some keyboard warrior, just typing away, telling this kid that's probably on the other side reading this, crying away, getting depressed.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the first thing that people mostly go to when I do talk about this with somebody. Well, how about socializing?
Well, that's why if they do home schooling, it's a community. So they're not isolated. You get together with other families in your neighborhood that are doing the same thing, and you get together. They play. They have games. They, play basketball, volleyball, dodgeball. They go to the park. They do all this stuff.
You can go to the library.
Yeah, they do
You
all
can
this
do all
stuff
kinds of
together.
stuff.
Yeah, they go to each other's homes.
Field
so
trips.
There's a lot of socializing there, and they're a lot happier.
And that argument about the whole socializing, missing out, socializing in today's, or even when we were kids in school, no, that's all a lie. Remember?
I mean, if you think about it, if they're in school and they don't have very many friends, because sometimes kids they're nasty.
Oh yeah.
And
sure.
So they don't have like that really good friend, and they go home. What do? They're on their computers. Yeah. They're playing games. They're not going out and
everything online.
Yeah, they're not going out and playing.
Like I mean, look, we drove around everywhere.
What's the deal with socializing? There's no socializing there.
No.
All those poor kids they're unhappy. They're going to classes, what they have to do, right? They're eating lunch alone. And then they go home and they do the same thing. They're isolated. Yeah. So at least the kids that are in homeschool, they're not being bullied. They're actually learning. They're meeting good families and kids. And I'm not saying that,
it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's not.
But it's so much more better than the school systems that we have. It's a terrible thing that our kids have to go through that.
I mean, remember this, when we were in class and you knew the answer to something, and they're like, whoever wants to answer this, raise your hand. A lot of times you didn't even want to raise your hands because it's either not cool or you were afraid that you're going to give the wrong answer.
Yeah, or you stutter or you don't say the word right.
Right.
Remember, they would say, okay, you read. And everybody would take turns reading a certain paragraph, and it's like, blah, 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 blah,
And what if you weren't a very good reader?
That's what I'm saying.
You'd be terrified. Oh no, they're going to get to me.
Yeah. And when we were in school, there were very few kids that were diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, autism. Very now few. Almost every other kid has some type of disorder. But when we were kids, if you had something like that and you were not diagnosed, people just were not nice to you.
Yeah, we grew up in a different time than it is now.
That's true.
And we get that. I mean, we understand. This is a very big massive subject that we're talking about.
It's a big issue, and it's not something that we're not going to fix it, but we
We
can
can
just
help though.
talk about it,
Right.
and
Right.
hopefully other people will talk about it, and
And the movement will grow.
it can grow. But something needs to be done, because I think our kids just aren't, they're just not learning enough, and I think society is failing them.
No, you're
You know,
right.
AI's here. Um, there's no jobs for these kids that pay so much money uh, to make a life for themselves. And there's kids going back home,
Right. More than
living
ever.
at home.
More than ever.
So something's got to change.
Yeah. And then you have right now the daycare for kids.
Oh, that's outrageous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You might as well just stay home.
Exactly. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, the houses, to have a decent house here in the United States, I mean, some areas are a lot better than, we live in California, so that's probably one of the worst, where two people actually have to work.
Yeah.
So you really have to think about, okay, what type of career am I going to have to make enough money so that maybe one person can work while
Right.
the other one stays home and takes care of kids if you want kids. And then, so what do? Do you put them in daycare and spend all that money? Or you could stay home with them. If you want to stay home with them and teach them. Do homeschooling. Teach them. It'll save you so much more money. And then once they get to a certain age, you can put them into like after school programs and things like that, and then maybe work part-time. So then you have a person working full-time and then part-time. But these days, I mean, you really have to work.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of kids that they don't want to go to college. They are not school people. They want to do the basics.
That's why we need skills.
Trade schools.
They need skills in the school system. They need like basic education up to a certain point, and I don't know at what point that is. Is that somewhere in high school, like maybe they're junior? I mean, maybe they're freshmen, and half of their sophomore is still part of the education part, and then after that, it's more skilled for some students. And the ones that really want to go to college and become like, different types of careers, like they know they want to be a nurse, they know they want to be a dentist, they know they want, then those will go veer off a different
path.
But the other ones that really don't want college, but they're skillful, and we need skill. Like, we don't have people that can make cabinets or,
welders,
help build houses,
plumbers,
electricians,
all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot of different things out there that they're saying that we really need right now.
And it's never talked about, and that's the sad thing. But like I said, this is so big that we can talk about this forever.
Yeah.
And today we talked about it quite a bit, but we are going to have a part 2 on this. So be on the lookout for that part 2. We're going to get into some more details about how, remember I was telling you that, or you actually said it, you said that to cut out some grades.
Yeah.
To make it shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to like combine some of the grades together, some of those kids that are that age. And I know it's probably like old days, remember, but we didn't have that many people living in society. But something similar to that, where, a group of kids from like, 5 to maybe 8, group them together and teach them, and then they can go on and on, so that by the time they do get into high school, they will.
And the online will speed that up. Being online and a kid learning at home is going to speed all that up. The program's going to be way faster, and the whole traditional elementary school, junior high, high school is going to be cut out, according to our opinion.
Yes, that's our opinion. It's really hard to like imagine what it would look like and how it would work because we're just programmed this
That's
way,
it.
and we've programmed our kids this way,
Yeah.
and they're going to program their kids that way. So it's really hard, but maybe there can be some change.
Definitely. I think it's time to wake up. This whole system needs to be squashed. And earlier we were talking about how the teachers, layoffs and all that. But just remember, everything goes to online. You can teach online. And
They
instead
do,
of
yeah, they do teach online.
exactly, there's plenty of
And
jobs.
the kids actually like it too,
That's
because they
right.
can be home doing their homework and they know it needs to be in a certain time. They just submit it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
So I just want to give a lot of credit to Mrs. Opinion here. She brought up some great points. Is there anything else you want to say for this video here?
No, I just think that what you brought up too, as far as the other countries, I think was really good because I didn't even realize that they had stopped that.
Yeah, they're not going to put it on the news or anything because they don't want to. They don't want people to know. And like I said, in the next video, we're going to have a part 2, maybe a part 3, who knows? But we've talked enough. And thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and remember, just comment. And this is just our opinion. We're no expert, that's for sure.
For sure.
But who is?
Yeah.
Really, who is? So let's just let's talk about it. Make sure our kids are taken care of.
Yeah, and just because something's been the same for a long time
doesn't make it right.
That's right. And with that, everybody have a good day.
Remember, everybody have a good weekend.
That's right. And time waits for no one. Dream it, live it.
Bye.